Thanks everybody for coming. We're going to start this meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board would like a motion to approve the agenda for April 18th, 2024 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. I will next turn it over to Ms. Jennifer Joels to talk about our special recognitions.
Thank you, President Bertrand. Tonight, we have the honor of recognizing another state championship win. The Francis Howell North Mock Trial Team and members of the Speech and Debate Club are here with us tonight. They brought home the state championship for the second year in a row. Associate Principal Dr. Aaron Steep and the coaches are here to tell us more about the team and this amazing victory.
Good evening, Board of Education and greater FHSD community. It is an honor to recognize our speech and debate and mock trial programs. The FHN Speech and Debate program typically has 20 to 30 students involved each year, and they compete in MSHA tournaments throughout the school year. The mock trial program has grown to 30 students over the past 10 years and competes in the mock trial events that are run through the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis. Both programs develop increased competence and confidence in speaking, listening, critical thinking, teamwork, logic, and persuasive strategies. In addition, students improve their comprehension of literature, analysis of controversial contemporary issues, and effective composition. Mock trial participants learn trial procedures, the federal rules of evidence, teamwork, case preparation, and ways to effectively appeal to jury members. Students are allowed to select the events in which they participate. They do not need any prior skills or experience, but must be willing to meet at least once a week after school. This preparation may include memorizing pieces of literature, outlining and scripting original speeches, researching and organizing debate cases, performing practice rounds for coaches and/or teammates. Mock trial participants typically meet twice a week in the evening to facilitate instruction from our attorney coaches. For both speech and debate and mock trial, students must develop a genuine camaraderie as they work together to prepare for competition. When one group has some time off during a contest, they often spend that time observing the presentations of their teammates to offer moral support and constructive criticism. At this time, I'd like to call one of the sponsors of our FHN program, Noah Slaughter, for any additional thoughts.
All right, thank you, Dr. Steep and board members, for recognizing our team tonight. My name is Noah Slaughter. I'm one of the coaches for the mock trial team and the speech and debate team. I participated in several activities in high school and have helped coach this one the past couple of years. And in my experience as a coach and as a former student, I would say that speech and debate and mock trial can be some of the most difficult activities that one could participate in high school, but they can also be some of the most rewarding. I think all of our students on both the mock trial team and the speech and debate team have really exemplified a lot of wonderful behaviors throughout the entire season. Not only have they had a lot of success with the actual competition aspects of the activity, they've also shown a lot of commitment to the activity and a willingness to constantly learn and improve. And so I'm always impressed by what they've done, both in mock trial or at speech and debate tournaments, but also the leadership qualities that they've demonstrated throughout the year. So now at this point, I guess I will call forward the students, I think. So Vanessa Ng, Michaela Manful, Amari Cunningham, Alicia Kamotho, Bella Ingracia, Gavin Swart, Haley Zhang, and Jenny Shelfa, and also our coach, Matt Struble. Oh, and Natasha Haverly, sorry.
Everybody take 2 steps forward. Just a little bit. There you go. Perfect.
All right, next this evening, we will introduce our student board representative for tonight's meeting. As you know, the purpose of the Student Board Rep program is to honor and recognize talented students, elevate student voice, and provide growth opportunities in the areas of public speaking, leadership, and governance. Students are selected for this honor by their principal with input from the student body. They have an opportunity to prepare and deliver a short speech to the board and public that is focused on their school or the district. And with that, I'll invite Dr. Erin Steep back to the podium to introduce our Student Board Rep from Francis Howell North.
It is my pleasure to introduce the Francis Howell North Student Board Rep, Mr. Colin Smith. Colin is currently in his junior year at FHN. During his time at North, he has been highly involved in a variety of activities that include class delegates, National Honor Society, HOSA, Knights of Excellence, Quill and Scroll, and student publications. Colin holds a number of leadership roles within these organizations as well. Last spring, he was elected the junior class president. He is the HOSA secretary and is the founder of the Student Leadership Council. Colin is not only active in extracurricular activities, but he challenges himself within the classroom as well. He currently holds a 4.37 grade point average and is ranked 33rd in his class. Colin has taken numerous honors, pre-AP, and AP classes throughout his 3 years at FHN. Colin took the initiative this year to seek out and coordinate a pre-prom assembly around the dangers of drunk driving and making positive choices. In his role as junior class president, he has also had a big hand in planning and preparing for the 2024 FHN prom. Colin is a model student at FHN and an exemplary member of the community. He is continually looking for ways to help others, support all activities, and make FHN a great place to attend and work. Colin is a kind, approachable, and genuine individual who sees the whole world beyond just his own experiences. Please welcome to the podium, Mr. Colin Smith.
Good evening, members of the Francis Howell School Board. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the FHSD School Board for affording me the incredible opportunity to stand before you today as student representative from Francis Howell North High School. It is truly an honor to be entrusted with this responsibility to advocate for the interests and well-being of my fellow peers. I must extend a heartfelt thank you to the FHN administration team for their unwavering support of us students each and every day. Their dedication to fostering a positive and enriching learning environment does not go unnoticed, and I am grateful for their guidance and leadership. I would also like to recognize 2 individuals who have played instrumental roles in shaping my high school experience. Ms. Keel and Mr. Manful from the FHN Journalism Department. Their mentorship and support has been invaluable, and I am incredibly grateful for their opportunities they have provided me to grow as a student journalist. Furthermore, I would like to express my appreciation to Mrs. Heyer for her collaboration and support in my role as class president, as well as to all the other teachers and staff members at FHN who have contributed to my education and personal growth. Their dedication to their students extends far beyond the curriculum, impacting lives and shaping futures each and every day. Because of the teachers, staff, and environment at FHN, I have been able to execute unique projects that will set me and others up for success beyond high school. Such things like being trusted to work with my team to produce publications that are 100% by and for students, reviving the 10-year forgotten tradition of drunk driving education via means of an assembly before the night of prom, and inspiring people to save lives through an annual blood drive. At Francis Howell North, we pride ourselves on fostering a sense of collaboration and positivity within our school community. Through our diverse array of clubs, engaging classes, and supportive environment for new ideas, we strive to ensure that every student has the opportunity to thrive and find their place within our school. I speak not only for myself, but for countless other students when I say that we are proud to be Knights. The impact of the people at FHN extends far beyond the walls of our school, shaping not only our lives, but the lives of countless past and future students. In conclusion, I'm deeply grateful for the opportunities and support I have received throughout my time at Francis Howell North. I am committed to representing the voices and interests of my fellow students to the best of my ability, and I look forward to working collaboratively with the school board to continue to enrich the educational experience for all students within the Francis Howell School District. Thank you.
There you go. Now I see you. There you go. Just like that. Perfect. Do you want to be here?
Come on.
Come on, Mom.
Come on, Mom. Everybody does it.
Right on. Ready? There's a perfect spot. Okay. All right, one more. Big smiles, everybody. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right.
So Colin, we are glad that you are here. Quick instructions are that you can speak. If you want to share your opinion on something, we would love to hear it. You can't vote. That's the only limitation of what you can't do up here. And I just want to say clearly that everything we do here as a school board is for the students, and you are a reminder and a refresher for what we do and why we do it. So thank you for being here, and we're glad to have your leadership on display. Thank you.
All right, and for our spotlight presentation this evening, we are shining a light on career pathways and work-based learning opportunities for students, including a new registered youth apprenticeship program. I will ask Dr. Kara Dalton and Ms. Katie Vargas to come forward to share about their work in this area.
Good evening, Board of Education and chiefs and patrons. Dr. Dalton and I are very pleased to have Gina Caldwell with us tonight from the Department of Labor to present us with our official Registered Youth Apprenticeship Certificate. As you know, Dr. Dalton and I are both very passionate about work-based learning, and we hope that exudes in everything we do, and everything we do is for the students and providing opportunities for them. We know with data and tons of research that work-based learning is a very important component of providing a holistic education that will prepare students for beyond high school. We currently have a pretty robust work-based learning program, and we continue together to develop that every day. We know that, am I clicking? Okay, I'm like, I'm supposed to be clicking. We know that we have a need for it for several reasons. We know that work-based learning provides our current students with the opportunity to be aligned better, not only from middle school to high school, but then into training programs beyond high school. Getting that real-world experience while in high school helps them not only develop those workforce-ready skills, but really kind of try before you buy a profession before they invest lots of time and money into a post-secondary education. We also know that our current graduates from our district, of the 80% of our school district graduates that attend a 2-year or 4-year college, only 62% of them actually complete a degree within 6 years.
And so that's a major issue that we acknowledge and want to continue to address. We want to make sure our students are not misaligned when they leave us so that they can complete their training when they graduate. We also know that we have a huge economy and workforce need. We consistently, year over year in our region alone, receive reports from our workforce partners that the top 3 shortcomings of their applicant pool are poor work habits, lack of general business or industry knowledge, and lack of communication and interpersonal skills. And so by providing students with real-world work-based learning, we are hoping that those skills are developed both inside the classroom and outside. We also know that shortage of workers with knowledge or skills is the number 2 barrier to expanding employment in our region. We want our economy to continue to grow. We have employers willing and ready to grow it, but they don't have the employees with the right skills to hire. And that's number 2, second only to poor work habits or poor work ethic. So that's the why behind work-based learning. Work-based learning is a huge umbrella, as you know. We currently list lots of, we listed on the slide are the opportunities we currently offer our students from upper elementary through high school. I'd like to see that list triple, quadruple, if I can be honest, and some work that Dr. Dalton and I have been working diligently to achieve over these last couple of years is adding registered youth apprenticeships to that work-based learning umbrella. And I couldn't be more excited about that work. And at that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Dalton, who will be able to provide you a little more information about registered youth apprenticeships and introduce our guest, Gina Caldwell.
Hi, good evening and thank you. I just wanted to share a little bit about where FHSD stands under the Registered Youth Apprenticeship umbrella. As we found out the last year and a half of the apprenticeship world is multifaceted, it's huge. There are so many different things you can do under that, and based on the guidance of some experts in the field, one who's with us tonight, as well as some other great folks in the area, so take a focus of one area that you can work on and build from there and get a really great program and set for your students and just keep building small every year. So we're very proud to announce that we are a registered youth apprenticeship educational provider. Under this umbrella, there's an educational provider, the Department of Labor, and an employer. And so we fill the role of one of those 3. And so we provide the training for our students in the classroom before they get ready to go to an employer. Next year, we will have 5 apprentices in the area of carpentry, working with a contractor here in the area. They have been offered their positions with the contractor, and we'll be finishing up that paperwork in the next few weeks. And all three comprehensive high schools are represented by these students. They will work approximately 15 to 25 hours a week, depending on their school schedule and in that industry, the weather. And they will be earning a guaranteed minimum of $19 an hour. And that is because that is tied to the carpentry union, that is set by the carpentry union, the wage that they make. And so that some of our students who have worked in a summer program have actually made more than that already. That's the guaranteed minimum that they can be paid. We're also very excited about having an apprenticeship pathway for early childhood careers, and we're very close to kind of finishing the final pieces on that and recruiting. We are not sure if we will have students take advantage of that yet, and may have to ramp up those efforts recruiting next year. That can help fill a need in a different way, in that we can also be the employer. So we can hire those students within in a couple of our different programs. So we're trying to fill a need that we know we have in some positions of vacation station, paraprofessional, et cetera. And that also opens the door for the students to paraprofessional certification. Using the U-Science data where students are indicating their interest in aptitudes and also looking at that regional data that Katie touched on, there's so many different areas you can do, but we kind of our next areas that we have some interest in, maybe nutrition services, information technology, lots of manufacturing and skilled trades here in this county that really, really need people. And so our long-term goal, and again, based on some recommendations from some entities who have created this, is to add a pathway per year. So one more opportunity for a year. This is not something that is lots and lots of students, but it can be a game changer for the students that take part in that. And so we're really happy to be able to continue to grow this over time. And I'm going to turn it over to Gina Caldwell from the Department of Labor. She's going to tell you just a little bit more about the why, and then I believe give us our official certificate.
Good evening. I'd like to extend my gratitude from the United States Department of Labor, Office of Apprenticeship, for my invite to make this presentation tonight, and also extend my gratitude for your investment in students and their futures. I like to tell people that I began in workforce development in 2011. That's whenever I started working at a Missouri job center, and I really started to see what people needed in order to be successful in finding work. In 2016, I started working for state government and found my way managing apprenticeship grants and creating new opportunities. If I say that I began my career in workforce development in 2011, I'm wrong. Because in fact, my path in workforce development started whenever I began my career as a high school teacher. If you are in education, if you influence the education, if you are a student, you're participating in workforce development. So I extend my gratitude to the Francis Howell community for choosing to invest in students. Registered apprenticeship is an earn and learn opportunity. It is a post-secondary credential. It's not an alternative to college, it's a pathway to college. We register apprenticeship programs with school districts like this, universities, and employer partners. We have a long-standing tradition in this area to have really strong, robust registered apprenticeship programs. Registered apprenticeship has been around since the 1930s, and it is certainly an opportunity to ensure that what we are doing whenever we educate our youth, that it is applicable to the opportunities that are in front of them. You give people the opportunity through registered apprenticeship to actually be employed while they're learning. We combine the regular classroom work that they would receive with on-the-job learning that is supervised by a skilled mentor. That means that the things that you're learning on the job and in the classroom are relevant to exactly what employers need. So I want to extend my gratitude once again for your embracing of this type of talent management system embedded into the school district that ensures that you're able to serve employers in your community and students who need opportunity. At this time, yes. At this time, I would like to present the certificate of registration for the Registered Apprenticeship Program. This makes Francis Howell School District a registered apprenticeship sponsor, able to serve as a training provider and also a sponsor for registered apprenticeship and employers.
Okay, I'll make sure you've done.
Y'all see, keep up.
Highness.
All right, one more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have patron comments. During patron comments, residents of the district and staff are invited to address the Board of Education on issues related to the school district. Speakers are called forward in the order of sign-up, and each speaker has 3 minutes to make their remarks. Please remember that only one speaker is allowed at the podium at a time, and combining time or giving your time to someone else is not permitted. The board appreciates that you've taken the time to come this evening, and we value both your input and perspective. I would like to remind everyone that we expect the speakers will remain civil and respectful when giving remarks. If anyone fails to comply with board policies, regulations, and rules, we reserve the right to cut those 3 minutes short. Now we welcome Sam Young.
Good evening, board, staff, patrons. I wanted to come tonight and commend 2 new board members, Director Owens, Director Blair, on the time and effort that you put in your successful campaign. I'm sure you'll both work hard for the school district. The new board members ran as moderates who will put education over politics, so I look forward to seeing you hold to that campaign promise. One thing that we did have broad agreement on was improving the atmosphere here at these board meetings. In response to the written questions at the Francis Howell Central High School Candidate Forum, all the board members committed to preventing or removing those who mock, interrupt, or insult others at board meetings. So I hope that wasn't just talk and that all of us provide a better climate at these meetings as we go forward. I also wanted to take the time to applaud the current and past board members over the last 2 years. I wasn't able to make it here Tuesday. Even though many of them disagreed with each other, they were always respectful of each other. Recent drama and disruptions tend to come from patrons or from outside the district and not necessarily between the board members themselves at these meetings. So I look forward to cohesion and unity continuing. I'm proud of the time and work put in by my many supporters in the local community. I've been flooded with encouraging messages since the election, which has been great. I'm proud that we kept our campaign positive with clear stances on local issues as befits a campaign for a local volunteer position. Really, though, I wanted to end tonight talking about our high school robotics team. I know I talked about it a lot during the campaign, but Ravens Robotics right now is down in Houston at the First Robotics Competitions World Championship. They're having a great time. The facility down there is amazing. It's been at least 7 years since the team qualified to go to Worlds. This year, the team built a great robot for the St. Louis Regional. They were selected the top-rated alliance and winning the regionals and thereby qualifying for Worlds. They're already 2 days into the 4-day event. Today they won 3 of 5 events. So they're off to a great start down there. I just wanted to wish them the best of luck. I know they're having a blast. And go Ravens.
Up next, we welcome Vivian Gontars.
Board Superintendent. Last month, the board approved the remaining Prop S funds on a newly prioritized list of capital improvements. This district was dealt a nearly catastrophic blow from the overexpenditure on Francis Howell North and other projects by the prior superintendent and CFO and a board that didn't ask enough questions but trusted the experts. In the last year, every Prop S requirement has been reevaluated for cost and necessity. Meanwhile, the board made a commitment to make physical security of our schools the top priority. This summer, 5 new vestibules will be completed, and next summer, all Prop S projects will be completed, all without another bond issue. I think the board and administration has done an amazing, miraculous job. But in reality, this was the product of hard work, talented people, and tough decisions. I applaud the board, the superintendent, the admin and facility staff for what they have done, especially those who did some of the heaviest lifting. And I'm told that that was Chad Lang, Randy Cook, Carol Embry, Jacob Myers, and others. So bravo team, good job. Since October, I've participated in the Citizens in Our Schools program. Last month, we got a briefing from the gentleman who's responsible for physical security in the district. Francis Howell has a manual of procedures for every imaginable scenario. And we've also purchased used communication devices from the police that allow staff to push one button and alert first responders. Francis Howell can feel really good about our school's physical security. The presenter said Mr. Stutzer, who was a recent hire by the board this past July, has been really good on school security. The board has interviewed and hired a number of significant people this past year. They regularly meet with the super and the admin staff in smaller meetings that we do not attend, dealing with issues of hiring, discipline, legal, policy, curriculum, and strategic planning.
Board members have been present at citizen roundtables, public curriculum reviews, and the Forum on Culture and Climate. Members have attended concerts, cupcake wars, and sporting events. And most significantly, the board has negotiated new contracts with pay raises for the teachers and the bus drivers, and they have restored steps for a number of the teachers, all without having had to raise tax rates. Tax revenues have increased because the value of our homes have increased, partially because we continue to have the reputation of being a good school district. You guys have proved that it can be done. You can monitor expenses, keep within the budget, and still do a great school. So the narrative that the board is only focused on culture wars is not true.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Up next, we welcome Bill Carrier.
Thank you, board members, staff, and fellow patrons. Francis Howell and Wentzville schools are currently strained due to high enrollment levels and shortages of teachers and bus drivers. However, the city of O'Fallon continues to approve annexations of St. Charles County land to enable multiple dense residential developments, thus increasing classroom overcrowding. The district's yearly operational cost per student is approximately $14,500. Local residents pay 70% of this cost through our real estate taxes. These developments will increase our taxes as their educational tax base is only 1/3 of the costs that they will incur. In short, existing residents will pay for the long-term costs and issues created by the city of O'Fallon and profit-driven developers. While O'Fallon's 2021 comprehensive plan recommends developing the city's gaps within its current boundaries as the preferred strategy over annexation, O'Fallon's annexations since the plan was issued total 320 acres. New developments being proposed at this time along Highway N and Highway DD comprise an additional 274 acres and nearly 600 homes. These developments meet none of O'Fallon's existing housing strategies and expand their boundaries away from the city center. O'Fallon's own financial analysis shows such developments result in a net loss for the city and its residents. Why are these developments being pursued if they do not support O'Fallon's comprehensive plan's objectives? As districts reduce school bus stops within subdivisions due to the driver shortage, these developments will likely result in more stops along ever busier highways. Is more development worth putting our kids at risk? 64% of O'Fallon's 96 annexations made in the last 15 years were per a Missouri state statute that requires only a formal agreement between a landowner and a municipality to approve the annexation. The public is not allowed to formally oppose or vote to reject the annexation. All we can do is voice our views at the O'Fallon Planning and Zoning and City Council meetings. If dense residential developments are not curtailed in compliance with O'Fallon's comprehensive plan, then it will have long-term adverse impacts to your children and youth. I strongly encourage parents, teachers, and Francis Howell School Board to contact O'Fallon's council members to voice their opposition. Ward 3 Councilman Nathan Bibb and Steve Kozleka have records of supporting such developments. Please attend the city council meetings and make your voices heard. The development's impact on local schools is not a formal development evaluation criteria. Only our strong public opposition can ensure profit-driven dense development does not impact the quality of education provided by you in the Francis Howell School District.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Your time is up.
Up next, we welcome Grayson Justice.
Good evening. My name is Grayson Justice. My pronouns are he and she, and I'm the alumni of class of 2013. I want to say congratulations to Carolee Owens and Stephen Blair for their meeting from Tuesday. It was great. I love the speeches from both you guys and also the former board members. So yeah, congratulations. Next, Benedict was 16 years old, non-binary teenager. They were a straight-A student and love animals and Minecraft. Unfortunately, on February 7th, Nex was brutally attacked in the females' restroom by older female students. A staff member broke up the fight and sent the students to the assistant principal office and the nurse's office. The school decided that an ambulance service was not required out of the abundance of caution, so they called their parent or guardian to pick them up and take them to the medical facility for examination. The next day, next Benedict passed away. Board, when the day comes to vote on Jane Pushkar's anti-trans non-binary restroom and locker room policy, think of next. If you vote yay, or if you vote nay, you'll get more negative media attention. If you vote nay, you're going to save people's lives. Thank you.
Up next, we welcome Harry Harris.
Hi everyone. Just wanted to congratulate Carol Lee and Stephen, and I know you're going to do good things. And I know we still have a lot of work to do, and you all of you, have quite a big job ahead of you. I did want to come in and talk tonight because I did really listen to what outgoing board members, Chad and Janet, had to say the other night. And I especially listened to Janet's speech. Chad loved his speech, but Janet hit home on a number of things. And we've been at this boiling point, and I think she really hit home that it's not been good. And we really need to figure out a way to move forward. There are some things that some of us are still gonna fight for, but I definitely wanna make sure that we're able to listen to each other, that we're able to sit down and talk. I know we've all gotten riled up at some point, but in the best interest of our kids, we've got to move forward. And I really hope that we take to heart what she said. I hope we listen to what she said about the resolution. We may not all agree on it, but I know that I don't like it if somebody brings a problem forth without a solution. So I certainly offer my services and anything I can do to help in figuring something out. I know that Director Ponder, and we're two North County guys who are out here, but I know that Director Ponder talked about some months ago revisiting the resolution and figuring something out. And I certainly would love to see that. And I'm here to offer services in any way that I can help with that. So that's really all I wanted to say. I know it's gonna be hard, but I think there's that light at the end of the tunnel and that we'll be able to move forward. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Up next, we welcome Melanie Rankin.
I blame my technological ignorance on signing up for 2 slots. I only meant one. I don't think
They fixed it, don't worry about it.
Good. So thank you, board, for the time that I have tonight. I have a sign in my office that says, "Save time, see it my way." A former coworker gave it to me because I'm admittedly very opinionated. I prefer to use the term passionate, but opinionated is fair. And I've always felt strongly about things, and I've always been very vocal about my beliefs. But some of my beliefs today don't even resemble the ones that I had 20 years ago. And they continue to evolve and to change and to become more nuanced as I learn more history, learn more about how people have experienced the same world and communities that I live in. And as I learn facts, instead of relying on other people's opinions or anecdotes that I found on the internet that support my viewpoint. All this to say that even when I know I'm right, I also know that I always need to be learning more. And at the end of the day, we're all here because we believe and the power and the transformative power of education. Board, I hope you accepted your roles because you believe in that transformative power. I know our teachers do, our administration does, and it's time that we as a community remember what we're actually fighting for. We're fighting for education, and education shouldn't stop after graduation. It should be a lifelong commitment, which is why 4 other parents and I came together to create an opportunity for all of us to continue learning. On April 30th, we will host the kickoff meeting of REACH, Rebuild, Educate, and Cultivate Healing. That's what we need right now, all of that. We need to rebuild. What we've shown ourselves to be as human beings over the past few years is not how we really are. I have to believe that. So let's create a new foundation. We need to educate ourselves. Let's actually learn about what we're fighting about. For example, is it really Black history or is it American history? I learned at a community roundtable with an individual who was sitting across from me who seemed to have we seemed to have no common ground whatsoever until we actually shared our thoughts and we realized that we really do have common ground. And so REACH is an education program for all members of the Francis Howell community. And over the course of the program, we will have experts and educators teach us about history, our laws, and the community we live in. It is not about politics, and it is not an opportunity for people to speak in another echo chamber. So I hope that you and everyone here will join us on April 30th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you.
in the Francis
Your
Howell
time is
Learning
up.
Commons to give us a fighting chance to be better.
Next, we welcome Mark Kyman.
Yes. Good evening. It's taken me quite a few months to get to this spot, so. But anyway, my name is Mark Kyman. I'm a husband, a father of 3 Francis Howell School District students, and I'm a cybersecurity professional. And I will tell you my credentials are readily available if you want them. I understand that in our world today, words like ransomware, cyber attack, and data breach are becoming part of our everyday vernacular. But for the most part, these words remain obscure to most people. And they generally nod along with me as I tell the story, and at the end, we all agree that it's a horrible occurrence. And yet, the same question is asked, what do we have that a cyber criminal wants? Well, let me ask you this. What do you have that they don't want? And believe me when I tell you that you're not the only ones that think that if you find yourself asking that question. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, lists K through 12 education as one of the top 3 targets of cyber criminals today. These criminals are attacking you now as I'm standing here, as this meeting is broadcasted across the internet. A little bit about your adversary. They have you outmanned, outpaid, and outgunned. And I will applaud Rich Wilson for doing the absolute best he can in his team with the resources that they have at their disposal, which are very limited. The FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3, in the 2023 Internet Crime Report listed Missouri as number 22 with 8,108 complaints filed, and number 24 with an average with a total of $123,405,404 in losses. That breaks down to 130.9 complaints per 100,000 people, and a loss of $1,991,645 per 100,000 people in the state of Missouri. What does this have to do with Francis Howell School District? Well, Francis Howell School District had a disclosure of personally identifying information violating the
Thank
FERPA Act.
you. Your time is up.
Next, we welcome Gordon M.
Thank you. History lesson. In about 2020, parents started to see some systematic indoctrination in public schools. They started showing up and speaking up. In Virginia, on June 22nd, 2021, at a Loudoun County School Board meeting, an angry man named Scott Smith was arrested, tackled, dragged out, and convicted of 2 criminal charges. Bad guy, right? The media plastered his arrest image everywhere as a domestic terrorist trying to disrupt public schools. He became a symbol, the poster boy of supposed right-wing violence and chaos at school board meetings. The next month, on September 29th, the National School Board Association sent a letter to Biden asking for help to combat acts of, quote, domestic terrorism by parents against school board officials. In response, on October 4th, Merrick Garland ordered the FBI to get involved to quell the supposed threat at school board meetings. That was the narrative in the mainstream media. But what really happened? Here's the truth. On May 29th, 2021, at Stonebridge High School, Scott Smith's daughter was allegedly raped in the girls' bathroom by a male student claiming to be gender fluid. The student's district's policies and actions had allowed this to happen, and then they buried it and continued to enable it. Dad was understandably upset. Prior to that, he didn't get involved at all with politics. Because the schools were not being responsive in his daughter's case, he went to the next school board meeting in June. There he heard the superintendent incredibly testify there had been no recorded cases of sexual assault in the restrooms. He spoke up loudly to say that his daughter was raped in the girls' restroom by a male student. That truth was so uncomfortable and inflammatory to the school board and to the woke mob that shouted him down. He was asked to leave. He did nothing wrong. He just spoke the truth. In response, they had 3 police officers tackle him, handcuff him, and drag him out with a bloody lip and a torn shirt in a humiliating fashion. The fake news assaulted his character and obfuscated the issue, and the weaponized legal system prosecuted him with 2 trumped-up crimes. The entire National Socialist woke education industrial complex came down on this heroic dad. The NSBA misinformation letter claimed that America's public schools and its education leaders are under an immediate threat. Acts of malice, violence, and domestic terrorism. A.G. Carlin used that letter, which was later debunked, as a pretext on October 4th to weaponize the FBI to target parents voicing concerns. It was used to intimidate people into not objecting to the woke agenda that was harming our children. Scott Smith was pardoned by Governor Youngkin just last September. What happened to him and his daughter should never have happened. We need to learn the lesson from history and have policies in place that will prevent anything like that, what happened to his daughter, from happening here. Board, I encourage you all to pass policy 2116, privacy in locker rooms and restrooms, that restores sanity and common sense. It's very fair to all. Anyone who tries to sue.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Next, we welcome FHEA.
Good evening. Congratulations to FESPA on bringing their closure document to the board tonight. We hope your closure document is filled with things that will help us keep our amazing support staff meet their needs and attract new people to fill positions. It takes all of us to provide a top-notch education in the Francis Howell School District to every student. We welcome all of our new teachers, administrators, and content leads. It is an unprecedented year of change in district leadership, and FHEA looks forward to working with all of you so that students at Francis Howell don't just get a back-to-basics education. We want them to have all the skills that they need to thrive in our global society. We would also like to welcome Director Carol Lee Owens and Director Stephen Blair. Their mission to make the best decisions for students and their focus on supporting and celebrating all teachers was the reason that so many community members chose them and other like-minded candidates across the county. We appreciate the fact that they understand that FHEA and MNEA are teachers. And here in Francis Howell, we have a strong membership who wants to work together to find solutions and dream big dreams for our district that include equity and inclusion, where all students feel represented and are represented. We hope to restore a truly collaborative relationship where differing opinions help us better define and solve problems rather than divide us. Thank you.
Next, we welcome FISPA.
Good evening, President Bertrand, Superintendent Rumpus, our cabinet, board, and guests. FISPA wants to recognize our outgoing board members, Chad Lang and Janet Stiglich, and all their time and commitment to this district, while also welcoming our new board members, Stephen Blair and Carolee Owens. Congratulations to you both. Tonight, we want to extend our gratitude and appreciation to all who were part of FISPA negotiations this year. We are profusely proud of all the work that was done by Scott Ockley, Meryl Koenig, Tracy Elledon, Don Van Horn, Mike Pagnotti, Jen Marbach, and our director, Lisa Blaha. We all worked tirelessly since December, sorting through surveys that went out to all support staff FISPA-eligible employees. We worked a lot on preparing for negotiations. We listened to all of the feedback and brought issues from all departments. Our group is diverse. There are nurses, paras, secretaries, custodians, interpreters, maintenance, grounds, HVAC, warehouse, and newly organized IT district technicians. There is something in the closure document for everyone. There are so many big celebrations that truly mean the world to the support staff of this district, like time off during winter break, a better vacation accrual plan, recruitment incentives, and guaranteed raises for the next 2 years. We want to thank all those on the administrative side that worked with us on the packages and really engaged in conversations on the items we brought, all of which were leading factors in creating a great closure document. We are thrilled with the collaboration that took place and meaningful changes for all. Each of your roles were vital in the continued success of our district. Thank you, Dr. Rumpus, Lisa Simpkins, Salim Stutzer, Will Vanderpool, Carol Embry, Jacob Myers, Adam Bertrand, Randy Cook, and Mark Delaney, who deserves a special shout out with how much we worked with us on language and editing the closure document. We're appreciative of all the work done, and we're grateful for all of you and extremely proud of this district and to be a part of it.
Board, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda for April 18th, 2024 as presented. So moved. Cook. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Next, Board, I'd like a motion to approve the 2024-2025 Board of Education dates as presented. So moved. Second. Cook. Discussion, Board.
Yeah, thank you, President Bertrand, for allowing me to pull that off the consent agenda. Basically, there's just one date I wanted to revisit, and that is to move the December meeting date from December the 19th to December the 12th. And the reason is having a board meeting right before Christmas break, winter break, is something that sometimes gets less attention. Everybody's checked out and thinking about their Christmas vacations, their Christmas travel plans. Additionally, if there's anything that comes out of a meeting that close to winter break, it could require different admin responsibilities to follow through on a lot of different emails or other tasks during their winter break. So the hope is that we can move from December the 19th to December the 12th, so the meeting can have more people attending, more eyes watching, as well as giving 7 days additional for admin or teachers to be able to respond to anything that comes out of the meeting itself. So hopefully everything can have a full winter break without distraction. Thank you.
Just to clarify, you'd like to amend the motion to change the December date from the 19th to the 12th?
Yes, that's correct. That's the only changes. The open board meeting scheduled for December 19th to be moved to December 12th.
I have a second board. Discussion board? All right, so we have a motion on the table to amend the motion to approve with the change that the December date gets moved to December 12th.
Dr. Rumpus, your team puts together a lot of these materials. I know we've moved dates up to the second week of the month in the past. Do you see this as a hurdle for you in December?
We don't. If you weren't aware, sometimes these meetings are a little bit, or these months or these weeks are a little stressful and busy. We believe that moving it a week earlier, which would allow all of our staff board to attend and be in buildings the week before winter break, would be beneficial. So we would support the change.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. So we have changed the motion to approve the 2024-2025 Board of Education dates with the date of December being changed from the 19th to the 12th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. More like a motion to approve the travel request, Learning Forward, as presented.
So moved.
Harmon, do I have a second?
Second.
Blair. Discussion board. No discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. Ayes have it. But next we have our financial report, or like a motion to approve the financial report as presented. So moved. Cook. Dr. Ponder. Ms. Embry.
Good evening. So I have just a few slides for you again this month. And the primary focus will be the budget amendment. I do have a few other updates to share. Thank you, Ms. Hepler. So we have for you this month for budget amendment revenue changes that are relative to the debt service refunding that you approved during the January meeting. And as you can see on the screen, we have an increase in revenue of $20,590,000. On expenditures, very few expenditure changes again. We do have a budget amendment increase recommended for contracted pupil transportation services. We've continued to see that line item grow, and that aligns us to a better place for the year. We also have an adjustment that appears under general supplies of $313,000. $300,000 of that is actually relative to the safety grant. You had approved that previously. It was placed in the capital projects fund, and if you look across to the capital projects fund column, you see a reduction of $300,000. Most of the items that, or actually all of the items that we are claiming on that $300,000 safety grant are identified as supply in nature, so they would need to appear in Fund 1. The other change is a transfer between fund types or also object types for one of our high schools for $13,000. And then otherwise you see under the debt service column the offsetting changes relative to the expenditures. So we have $20,850,000 for the actual bonded indebtedness relative to the refunding, and then $200,000 relative to fees, for a grand total in that fund of $21,050,000. This slide shows you, and again this document is posted for public consumption, the presentation and the actual budget amendment document provides you that slice looking at it from a higher level, where the revenue side, all of that change is relative to other district revenue codes. And the expenditure view is object-based, and we see those changes for purchase services, supplies, debt service, and our capital projects, and also bond that we provide to you separately. This shows you our updated fund balance percentage estimate, and you'll note the verbiage at the bottom. The year-end estimated fund balance percentage shows a 0.15% increase over the amount reported in March, bringing us to 30.35%. We know that will change. I shared with you during the March 14th work session about the opportunity to transfer some of the Francis Howell North kitchen expenditures that are pertinent to our food service operation to serve meals to kids. And we will be recoding some of those Prop S bond fund expenditures to that. That will cause that fund balance percentage to drop ever so slightly. So I wanted to share with you not only about the tax liability notice that's required by Senate Bill 711, I also want to provide you with an update about current legislation. So Senate Bill 711 was passed in 2008, and it requires that our county provide us with our projected AV information, and then we in turn provide a projected tax liability notice. This is not the final information by any stretch. As you know, we set the levy in September each year, and we'll receive updated information from our county just in time for that tax rate hearing that will take place in September. And so this update, I will tell you that there's been a lot of movement this very week and including today. There were two bills I wanted to highlight for you. Senate Bill 756 is seeking to provide clarity on Senate Bill 190 that was passed last year, and that is relative to those property tax freezes. So more to come on that, but then the current update on Senate Bill 727 is it did pass today. It will now go to the governor for consideration and approval. And I have highlighted for you some of the primary changes. It includes voucher program expansion, charter school expansion in Boone County, expansion of early childhood education qualifications, and also how the formula is calculated to lean into looking at it through an enrollment perspective, not just average daily attendance. I'll share more about that as we get into the budget process, but they also do include something about the 4-day week. So to bring this home for you, to help you understand the potential implications of this bill passing, and it is an omnibus bill, meaning it has pretty much everything in it, and that's normal in our legislative process. This would potentially cause a reduction of revenue coming into the Francis Howell School District based on current data of approximately $5.6 million. So basically what this is saying is as voucher program expansion occurs, those revenues needed to fund that could potentially come from transportation funding. If at any point in time the transportation funding drops below 40% of the FY21 amount, then they would cut that voucher program off or stop it, suspend it at that time. FY21 was the last year before we had some nice increases in transportation funding. We've gone for many, many, many decades without full funding of transportation, and we were receiving just under $2 million that year. Our current transportation revenue is $7,855,921. So big gap, potential loss, and we'll see how that affects us year over year. I'm certain that we'll be receiving more information on that. Most important to note is that the last day of the session is May 17th, so there could be some other implications relative to public education, and we'll keep you apprised on that. I want to also mention, I didn't include it in a slide, but as you know, we put out a legal RFQ, and that was issued on the 8th, and we had responses come back today. We'll be interviewing on May 3rd, and that will, of course, include board representation. And then we'll bring a recommendation back to you during the May meeting. And then also, we have discussed in this session letting a request for qualifications for architectural and engineering services, rather. That was issued on April 15th. It will be due May 14th. We'll conduct interviews following that with a recommendation to the Comprehensive Board on June 6th. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those.
Questions, board?
Thank you for that update. Regarding SB 727, I read through it very well. I didn't read every word. It's 167 pages, but I did look through it this week, and you mentioned calendar in there, and something popped in my head here. Did the legislature fix the school calendar and Labor Day and all of that? Did you see that in there? I'm trying to find some good in here.
No. That would be a no, negative, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is, there is a piece, and I will tell you, because it doesn't impact us, I didn't hone in closely on it, but it also is relative to a 4-day schedule. There are some specific requirements for those districts that have gone to a 4-day student schedule.
Other questions, board? Colin? Thank you, Ms. Embry.
Okay, thank you.
All right, board will be voting to approve the financial report as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Next, board, I'd like a motion to approve the purchases as presented.
So moved. Second.
Questions, board? Comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Next, board, I'd like a motion to approve letting bids on Fairmount Elementary project as presented.
So moved. Second.
Ponder. Mr. Stutzer.
Good evening, board members. Before you have a recommendation to let bids for an addition and renovation work at Fairmount Elementary. The construction documents and technical specifications for this work, they're complete and ready to be issued for bidding. Pending your approval, the bid package will be released on May 2nd, and then a public bid opening will be held on May 30th. And a recommendation for a construction contract will be brought for board approval at the June 20th board meeting. As a reminder, at the October and December Board of Education meetings, you approved schematic design as well as design development for this work. And furthermore, what we did was we provided those construction documents and specifications to a third-party construction estimating company. And on March 18th, they provided a total estimated cost of $9,074,109. And at the December board meeting, Honer provided a estimated cost at that time of total estimated cost of $7,810,066. The primary increase in the third party's estimate is primarily driven by new market data respective to construction costs. We anticipated projects that are getting ready to bid or either recently awarded, as well as other factors in terms of considerations of projects that are anticipated to be let out to the market. Honer's December estimate was based on a construction market data, square footage construction market data of roughly about $344.45 per square foot. And then the March 18th third-party estimates based on $381.55 per square foot. With this new information, that increased the hard cost estimate by about $685,000. Also, during the life safety plan review, which was not complete during the December board meeting, that Honer shared their estimates. The authority having jurisdiction required some additional fire alarm scope to meet current code. And additionally, there was some mechanical review that required a hot water booster pump for the addition. So when you combine those costs, those two costs, totaled about $340,000 that was included in the third-party estimate that were not factored in Honer's December estimate because we were still in the review process. So lastly, just for your awareness, the total square footage that we're looking to add and renovate is about 18,712 square feet. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Questions, board?
You mentioned the timing of the bid and whatnot. I wonder if we've ever inquired of these architects or even this third party that we hired, if there is an ideal time to bid this sort of work to obtain good pricing.
Yeah, it's difficult because obviously, you know, as you look at the school calendar and when you break down the window of opportunity that we have to perform this work, it really boils down to about a 73, 74-day schedule for a majority of that work, you know, June and July in reality, to make sure that we can complete the work and be ready for school and instruction. Now there are nuances where, you know, we can perform some additions, but we've had those conversations and really there's no perfect time. There are some scopes of work, for example, roofing, ideally, in order to really try to control costs on you know, specific scopes such as roofing, you bid those outside of the heavy summer months when everybody else is bidding those. So what you see in the industry is you see a lot of companies that are now starting to, even school districts, I know in my prior experiences, I've bid roofs kind of right after the summer rush, because what ends up happening specific to roofing, since that's what we're talking about here in terms of timing, the contractors in that industry will build in premium time, which is really almost running 2 crews to be able to accomplish that, getting that work done in that schedule. And so by getting out of that window where you're competing with everybody else to complete that work, you get a little bit better pricing. But respective to this work, there's really no better time to let bids on that.
I have a question, first of all, for clarification. A couple months ago, did we separate the security vestibules for Fairmount from the other possible renovations? And this is just the other part of the renovations that were originally discussed. But again, we pulled away because we wanted to support and approve the security vestibules, so they're done this summer, ready for the fall, right? So this is...
Yeah, security vestibules were done prior to summer.
Right, so these are the same things that were discussed a couple months ago then? So the same drawings, and everybody's aware of what he's referring to when he talks about
Director Black, I can help provide a little clarity on that. So there was a little bit of scope at the time that we had presented the secure vestibules. We were almost in the same area performing work that we had brought forward, and I think at that point in time the board really wanted to focus on the secure vestibule piece, and so that remaining what we'll for our purposes call phase 2 scope of work we included in this larger comprehensive package for Fairmount.
And so a follow-up question. One of the many things I think everybody on the board holds in common is we don't want to be surprised by overages when it comes to construction. That's something we all agree on. Colin agrees on it too. What questions do we need to ask now? What safeguards are in place to make sure that this doesn't have a 93% overage like the security vestibules came back? Like, what do we need to do as a board or as admin to make sure that we don't get burnt again?
Yeah, that's a great question. And while there's no silver bullet to, you know, we're just in such a volatile market in terms of construction. What we're doing now is just really doing our due diligence before, specific to the third party, the security vestibules. We weren't utilizing, you know, a third-party resource to look at continued market data. We weren't consulting, you know, with other bond councils that are involved with providing that type of information in terms of construction square footage costs to public entities. We're doing that now. The other piece is we're bringing back every single recommendation for consideration and having those discussions with the board and making adjustments as needed.
I'll just add that, yes, after the security vestibules bid came in, we did engage this third-party cost estimator because we knew we had these 2 large projects at Henderson and Fairmount out there that were largely designed at the time, and so that was a big concern, is that if the if the estimate for security vestibules was that far off, then what are we looking at on Henderson and Fairmount? Everyone understands that. Yes, the Henderson third-party estimate was certainly closer than the Fairmount, and it was very similar. This estimate is higher. There's some scope that's been added as a result of different reasons as design progresses. Certain things get caught, that's what we expect. It's a little frustrating to see estimates go up, but on the other hand, that's the reason we got the third-party estimate, is to get an idea of what another opinion on what the cost will be when the bids come in. Of course, the real cost is what the contractor's willing to do it for. These are all just estimates. So I'm a little torn. It's hard to see these increases, and I think at the end of the day, if the bids are higher, I can preface, the first question I'm going to ask is which questions on that Prop S list, or which projects rather, are no longer on the list. That's the hard truth. If the costs go up, and then that's the decision that the board will have to make, is are those trade-offs worth it?
That's our reality, and but we've got processes in place to help us not end up in previous situation as we have with other projects. But the reality is we're in a volatile construction market, continues to be that way, and we'll let the bid day numbers help us make educated decisions on the best way to move forward and make the appropriate recommendations for board consideration.
I have a question. So this has gone up 16%. So now we're 1.26
Yep.
over estimate. What percent over this, when bids come in, are you comfortable as saying you wouldn't recommend proceeding with construction?
Well, that's a tough question to answer. What I'll say is we'll have to go back to, based off of what the recommendations we shared in some of those other program budgets that we've shared with you at the work session, we roughly had about 1.6 million in wiggle room, to help accommodate and account for some of the overages that we may see in each of those individual scopes that we'll bring back to the board for consideration. But we'll also, as Ms. Embry just shared, we've got an opportunity, we're still cleaning up some things, but to be able to recode some expenses at Francis Howell North for kitchen equipment, and that should free up another approximately 1.9 million to be able to move over on that overall program budget on the recommendations that we can hopefully potentially utilize if need be so. So I think that's kind of probably the strategy, not necessarily a percentage, but being able to make sure that we stay within that program budget and be able to meet the needs that we shared with the board.
Director Harmon, I would just add, if we are in that situation, we would engage with the board per our process of bringing this back to you following the opening of the bids, and probably want to engage in a work session as opposed to just a report during an open session to make sure we all agree on the ultimate goals of the remaining bond funds, and any decision we make. As to Mr. Cook's question, other projects may or may not get done, and so we would engage to have that discussion in open.
One of the things that I always look at, seeing this is disappointing, obviously, to see that this has gone up. We never like to see it. We've seen it several times. One of the things that I really look to is understanding that we have people like Saloom that are watching this like a hawk every single day. While it's not ideal that this happens, I think everybody in this room and watching can agree with me when we say that the safety of the students and staff and the teachers in these buildings is paramount. We want nothing more than that. And I think this is, every single time this has come back like this, it's just very disappointing. But I hold my hat on the fact that Dr. Rumpus and his staff and you, Saloom, are watching these things like a hawk, and the third party piece of it is imperative, and I think it's great that we're doing that. But again, as a board, the way that I look at it as a board director, I trust that you're up there doing your job every single day, and watching these things and making sure that everything is in place. And sometimes things come up. You have to put in, fire suppression systems that we didn't foresee. So I think the next step is just, there's an accountability piece there that has to happen, and I think we're well on the way to that. But again, having you and Dr. Rompus and the team, taking a look at this, making sure that it's accurate, that it is the way that we need to go, but also, having the guts to come to us and say we don't think this is a viable option. While disappointing, I would hope that you absolutely would do that. So keep up the good work and keep bringing these to us. And while disappointing, it is what it is.
Certainly appreciate the comments and certainly understand. And just for your awareness, we're also I talked to another bond counsel that provided just some additional data. I think there was a total of, they were representing a total of about 67 school districts in some kind of bond language on this last election, and about 51 of those election pieces were related to physical infrastructure for school systems. So the market for construction right now is just very saturated, and obviously, it's about supply and demand, and that drives costs up as well. So just for your awareness, as you look across the state in terms of school districts work, we're not the only ones performing that. And specific to schoolwork, it's an aggressive, condensed schedule. As I noted, about 74, 75 working days in the summer to get quite a bit of work done outside of additions. So a lot of companies are having to build in premium time, and that's driving up that cost. So just for your awareness.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Would like a motion to approve the 2024-2025 Sodexo contract with options to renew for 4 additional one-year terms as presented.
Oh,
Ponder. Discussion board. Saying no discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Or like a motion to approve the 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 pay increases and salary schedules as presented.
so moved.
Ponder. Discussion board. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Board like a motion to approve the 2024 to 2027 FHSD closure document and salary schedules as presented.
So moved.
Second. Blair. Director Ponder. Discussion board. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. We will now take a 5-minute break to sign closure documents. Kick back off. Up next, we have the exciting topic of tax liability notice with Ms. Edward.
Oh, well, I will just tell you, this is what I referenced during the financial presentation. It's a formality that we must adhere to by the Senate bill requirement, and so it's provided for you during this public meeting, but the real news will come in September.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions, board? All right, we'll move on to budget development.
This, I'm so excited to talk about. I know.
Oh, no.
Nobody else.
There we go.
Nobody else gets excited about budget development like me.
True story.
That is such a factual statement. Yes. Okay, so, and you all are well aware that sometimes my eyes fail me when I'm at this podium. I thought about bringing a little light for my papers. It's getting bad, friends. Okay, so we'll jump into this presentation. That's the discussion objectives, if anyone wants to read through that, but I'll just keep moving and get into the real content. And so as you know, last month I provided you the update on the debt service fund and also the health fund. And while some of those numbers will be truly finalized, we know that the debt service is based on our amortization schedule, so that information is pretty well solidified. This evening, we're providing you with a capital fund and the bond fund. So again, why put it all into 1 month, sharing information with you when we can go ahead and cover some of this as we journey forward through the months. So moving forward, on May 16th, we'll talk about the general fund and teachers fund and provide you a revenue update. Then June 6th will be the comprehensive recommendation for revenue and expenditures for the 24-25 school year. And as we know, we must approve a budget by June 30 prior to the start of the new fiscal year. This shows you a pie chart of the 4 primary funds that we manage. We do have the capital projects and bonds separated out so that you can see the difference there. And we do not have our self-funded insurance in this because we did separate that out as a proprietary fund. It's no longer part of our governmental funds that we report to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. This is that familiar slide that tells you the different funds and how the operating levy can be placed in general teacher or capital, and the debt service levy is placed in the debt service fund, and we are compliant with the requirements of Missouri Statute 165.011. So for capital projects funds, just like all of the other funds, the sources include the fund balance carryover from June 30. We also are allowed to make transfers from the operating fund, and districts handle this in different ways across the state. Some do a transfer, some direct receipt, some do both. We are allowed to transfer, it's over $6 million, it's really closer to $6.8 million in the current year, and anticipate it would stay about the same next year for that allowable transfer. You'll note as we move forward, we are indicating a 5%, or excuse me, a $5 million as opposed to $6 million. We have other allowable transfers, so I just shared earlier that we'll be shifting our nutrition services expenditures from the high school over to the food service account. That money is maintained as part of a sub-fund of the general fund, so we'll need to do a transfer to impact that. And then we have certain revenues. We follow the DESE accounting manual, but we're allowed to direct receipt certain revenues into the capital projects fund. And then for districts with a levy in capital projects, that of course can place some of our tax revenue in that fund. Expenditures include furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We are setting our threshold at $3,000 per item. Anything that's federally funded must be placed in capital if it's $1,000 or more per item. That's a bit of an outdated threshold given today's economy. We also are required to code lease purchase payments to the capital fund, as well as anything that's a major purchase like buildings and land and all the primary improvements that we perform. This slide provides you the historical expenditures dating back to FY10, and we note that there is a significant spike that occurred in 2019, and that was when approximately $9 million was used to purchase buses. We average, absent that, about a $5.5 million spend per year, and you can see the range. It's dropped down to 2.694 and has rested at $8.579 million during that period of time, excluding the bus purchase. I understand we had our Finance and Audit Committee meeting last night, and we have one of our previous board members serves on that committee, and he was reminiscing about the days when it was pretty much zero that was invested in the capital fund. And what that means is then we're not taking care of our building assets. So he's happy to see that this is very much different now. So this articulates for you the capital planning process. Basically, we receive all of the requests throughout the district from building principals and also directors and other leaders in the system. And then our operations team will evaluate all of those requests. They make sure it's compliant with building code, if that would be a particular request, like removing a wall to create a larger instructional space, that kind of thing in one of the buildings. They basically evaluate it from the district level perspective, and we all have to keep in mind that what one person might view as the highest priority in the district, if all things are known, then all of a sudden those things shift down on that priority level. So that team does that. We also engage with instructional and operational leaders to work on prioritizing those needs. And then we're certainly evaluating them, not only the protection of the asset that I referenced in terms of taking care of our buildings, but what instructional impact might some of these make or our safety needs in the district. This is my attempt to help you understand that the requests that come through this year, they could potentially be funded this year. They could be funded next year. They could be funded the year after that. Regardless, if we have a primary expenditure that's going to impact capital, we would bring that to you for your approval. But if the work could get done very quickly after school ended or potentially even during spring break, that would mean it would post in the current year. So it's always a rolling budget, very different than other budgets that we allocate for operating purposes. Operations Hero is a software that you approved in December 2023, and that's in process of being implemented. Director Stutzer and his team are working on educating people and helping them know how to use it. We're moving from that paper-based system where people would show up at the shop and get their marching orders to actually being able to carry a device that can inform them of the next job to do. So we know we'll be bringing in a number of efficiencies. Not only does it include that inventory and asset management, but it will be our capital planning module for the future when work orders and requests need to be put in place. So here are our actual recommendations. For buses and engines, we have a 0 recommendation for you this year, and that's because of the purchases that have occurred recently. And currently, our fleet has not reached that age point where we need to consider making a change. We will be developing, though, a recommendation for how we will move forward for a comprehensive replacement. We don't want to be replacing all of our buses all at one time. We want to make sure we stagger those. I looked at the mileage of our existing bus fleet, and on average, they are just over 51,000 miles for the entire fleet. This image on the left is an example of a cafeteria table. We have a number of cafeteria tables that need to be replaced, and so an assessment was performed district-wide, and these are the sites that were identified as being the highest priority needs. We would recommend replacing 167 cafeteria tables at approximately $2,500 each. And currently, our cafeteria tables are between 15 and 20 years old, and the average life is usually right around that 15-year mark. We're recommending a contingency allocation of $250,000 because, as you well know, things happen, and our hope is that we won't have a lot of HVAC failures or that type of thing that occurs during the summertime or as we're starting school next year, but we need to be prepared for what that might look like. Our custodial equipment has been maintained well, and no major identification has been made of things that need to be changed out, but we're recommending a placeholder of $10,000 that would cover things like vacuum cleaners, burnishers, extractors, and auto scrubbers, all of that. This is regarding electrical, $175,000. We've identified the following for prioritization, and that would be fire alarm panels at Daniel Boone, Costley, Becky David. Those 3 altogether are $50,000 for the 3 of them. And then a $25,000 placeholder for unexpected. And then we also are exploring a key card system with photo IDs. The estimate currently is $100,000 that would affect staff throughout the district and would make us more efficient and have a more secure entry point into our buildings. For exteriors for buildings, we have a $225,000 recommendation. Those are some images of some of the brick replacement that needs to occur or the siding that is needing to be addressed. So at Costley and Daniel Boone, we need tuck pointing, masonry, joint sealing, and brick replacement. At the 3 early childhood centers, we need new gutters, siding, and other work to be performed relative to the installation finishing systems. For fields and turfs, we have a recommendation that the turf at Francis Howell Central would be replaced. It has certainly met its useful life. It's 12 years old. The recommendation is that those are replaced typically every 8 to 10 years. But what we really do is we ensure what we need to do based on the GMAX testing. We perform the testing every 2 years to make sure that the shock absorption is proper and that students will be safe when they're performing on the turf. For flooring, this is always a big need in any district, and we're asking for a $300,000 allocation. We've identified the following buildings listed there, those 7 that would be the priority areas. You can see some images where carpet tears have occurred. We could provide a multitude of those for you. But Francis Howell Middle, Fairmount, Hackman, Meadows Parkway, Barnwell, Henderson, and Central School Road. And just note that we know, yes, there is bond project work that will be taking place in some of these buildings, and this is the above and beyond, areas that would not be impacted by any of the bond renovation or new build. For furniture, fixtures, and equipment, we're asking for a placeholder of $475,000, and so again, that's for all those items that are $3,000 or more per item. We will go through all of the requests that we received and ensure that we're providing the highest needs for those. It has been quite a while since we've really replaced furniture in the district. We have a number of opportunities with furniture that would be in ill repair. For grounds, parking lots, and other exterior, the price point is $1,689,000. As you can see, we do have some opportunities here. We've got the $752,000 recommendation that would address needs at Francis Howell Middle, and that does include not only separating out the bus and car rider traffic, addressing some of these hot spots, but also addressing Americans with Disabilities Act requirements. $687,000 for work at Costley, the same type of work, and then a $250,000 miscellaneous sidewalk budget for needs as those are identified as well. And I'm sure Saloon and his team have a list already. For gyms, we are making a recommendation that we replace the wooden bleachers that are in the Francis Howell Central High School. These bleachers are 26 years old. I know when people look at wood, sometimes you think, oh, it's wooden, it's beautiful, but it's very mechanically deficient. And some of the challenges with some of these things is that we can no longer get operable parts, that type of thing, because they have aged out significantly. The seating capacity for the main gym will remain the same at 1,429. The auxiliary gym will increase from 600 to 680, so not much of an increase. The lower picture on the right is just an example of what that new bleacher set would look like. For HVAC, or heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, $500,000. As you well know, I've noted there on the left at the bottom that replacements at 10 sites will be addressed by bond funds. We still need to replace controls, and there would be smaller units, and so those 7 sites have been identified. We also are including a recommendation for an annual placeholder to address these similar needs in years moving forward. Information technology, $610,000. So in this situation, it's noted equipment over 1,000. It depends on what the equipment is, but we have audio enhancement systems and some infrastructure work that needs to take place. Dr. Wilson does have a placeholder for the new time clock hardware. I shared with the Finance and Audit Committee last night that we are bringing forward a recommendation to change the provider and go with Skyward, which is our payroll HRIS system. So it would be one unit, and that needs to happen. We still have clocks that have aged out regardless, and so we need to replace them, and so that kind of moves that opportunity forward. We also have some classroom displays that are included in that, and then there is a lease increase for device replacements that's included in an upcoming slide. Interior buildings, $275,000. So this would be, again, work that would not be affected by the bond issue at Henderson and Fairmount and the Central Early Childhood Center for those restroom partitions. And then a placeholder budget of $150,000 to address lighting and other needs. Under the lease slide, we have information indicating that new lease purchase for replacement. And so this is a 5-year investment of $350,000 annually for Chromebook refresh and devices at Costley and Central Elementary Schools. We have a new lease recommendation for copier fleet replacement, and then also we're indicating that existing annual lease payments that have been eliminated through payoffs or other payment structures shows a reduction of $1,495,825. For playgrounds, because of the move forward approval to address the playground needs at 10 elementary sites, we do not have a recommendation this year. Partly why I kept these slides in is because we need to look at it every single year, and so this will just guide us in our work. So no regular capital spending in that area. For roofs, $870,000, that would address the needs at Becky David Elementary and also at Fairmount Elementary. We have a small section that needs to be replaced. Good, bad, or otherwise, in 2017, we had a hailstorm and a number of roofs were addressed throughout the district. So that's why we are in such great shape on our roofs at this point in time. And you note there that the replacement target is 22 to 25 years, but we still do our assessments. We set the date, expect it, go check it, and make sure that can we get a little more life out of this or not. So I want to emphasize on this safety slide, it says 0, but as you well know, you have made commitments that we will prioritize safety spending. You've done that already through the security vestibule work that's taken place in the district utilizing bond funds. And we have another $2 million carve out of the remaining bond funds to attribute to safety needs. I referred earlier, and it's on the slide, the $300,000 grant for safety. And so this year, no recommendation. That would change likely for next year. And then lastly, the white fleet, $365,000. So we do have a couple of vehicles that are aged out. One's a 2010 and one is a 2004 vehicle. We also are recommending a new vehicle to support the custodial foreman. And then the last item, number 4, is a placeholder where a team of stakeholders will pull together, including our Director of Student Services, our Director of Transportation, and others, to vet, is there an opportunity for us to have efficiencies and ease in use of potentially providing different units for student transportation, whether that be a small team going to some kind of competition, or it could potentially even be to eliminate some of that contracted transportation services. So we're just going to check that out, see how that might work better, and we would bring back a recommendation to you for that. So this is a summary of all that we just covered, and as you can see, the comprehensive recommendation is, as compared to our FY24 revised budget, is $9,069,053, and that's an increase overall of $1,279,772 for the recommendation for capital projects. This slide shows you what the financial summary might look like, and again, this might change as we work toward June 6th when that final recommendation is made to you. But our beginning balance July 1 was $11,253,215. We have estimated revenues of $2.4 million. The expenditure total is indicated there. And then that transfer again is for this coming year recommended at $5 million. We are recognizing that we're dropping in our fund balance, but we are really getting after some of the needs that need to be addressed in the district. And this is a reminder slide of the information that you approved during the March 14th meeting that summarizes all the bond projects, and we'll continue to post our bond financials each month under the financial report, and also this will get updated as new information is brought forward from bid approvals and that type of thing. And this is a little confusing to look at it, but all that I'm providing for you here is this is a snapshot of what the current year revised budget looks like, and then what the next year budget could look like. But as you know, we spend the money when the invoice is received following the work that's completed. And so sometimes we set the budget higher than what we'll really be spending in the current year, and all that means is then that ending fund balance will be higher. If we don't spend it, we'll move that forward to the next year or the year after that. So all of that will be adjusted, and I'm sure will be very clear to you as we move forward. I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Questions for her?
Yeah, I've got one. Carol, I'm not sure if you know or not, but Mr. Stetzer and I, you probably do. Mr. Stetzer and I toured Harvest Ridge a couple weeks back, and I just wanted to see if there's any.
Right.
I may have missed the slide.
It wasn't in there, and here's why.
Yeah.
Because we need a bigger assessment to be conducted, and that will likely wrap up in August. And so we are utilizing third-party resources to help us with that. And Harvest Ridge might not be the only one. There could be some other potential opportunities that we need to elevate higher. And what I would say to the rest of you is that if we elevate something and it's going to cost money, then maybe we need to pull down some of those other allocations that we have planned at this time that are optional.
And Salim alluded to that as well, and so did you, but I just want to see if there's been any movement on that one. So.
It's currently in process or scheduled, so, yeah. Okay. And that could be true for, again, for other things. As we have things identified for us, then we will prioritize that and make you aware of that as well.
If you would see what I saw, you would feel right.
Gotcha.
Other questions, board?
Yeah, got a question on the playgrounds,
Yes.
$0, because we just talked about the Prop S funding for Fairmount, which we don't know what the final
Right.
will be. So that could possibly eat into this playgrounds. Is that something for consideration in coming back and looking at saying, all right, this playgrounds is not going to be zero, or is?
So, as Mr. Stetzer indicated, anytime a lever is pulled that changes that recommendation, March 14th, we will reevaluate and determine what might need to shift over to regular capital. And again, it could bump something else off that's on this current regular capital list. So we would definitely take a look at that.
Okay, and then just out of curiosity, I'm curious about the electrical panels.
Yes.
Is that just simply a swap out of the panels? Or is that, I mean, you're not
Right.
installing new devices? Or
I would
anything?
say that's a swap out, but I'm phoning a friend.
Director Harmon, it's a complete swap out of the panel. Those panels have been in service 25 years or so. We've had some failures and can't get parts, are obsolete, and the next step is really to replace those and put ourselves in a situation to where we're not having to shut down entire wings of those school sites.
Okay. So it's just the panels, no new wire, no new devices?
Just the panels.
Regarding the school buses, seem to remember bringing this up probably with the CFO prior to you. I'm a little foggy on the details, but when we brought transportation in-house 5 years ago, one of the considerations was age of the bus fleet, and that was factored into the benefit cost ratio of bringing it in-house versus continuing with the third-party vendor. Surprised to hear that our average mileage is only 51,000 after 5 years, honestly, but glad to hear that we have a plan to make a plan to replace those
Yes.
over time and not do them all in one swoop. I wonder if I suspect this is the case, but I'm just curious. Some of our bus routes are much longer than others. I'm thinking of the southern part of the district versus every other part. Do those buses rotate out every year for the high mileage to average those out, or do we just run buses till they high?
I'll need to phone another friend on that one. Jen, do you want to join me for this?
So do we?
That's exactly right. Yes, we're constantly looking at which buses can go on what route to try to keep that average mileage somewhat balanced. It's not a perfect science by any means, but we definitely do that on the buses on a regular basis.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I don't need to phone any more friends.
I have a couple questions,
Oh,
more
good.
broadly, so I think you'll be okay without friends. One, just thanks for the comprehensive overview, appreciate it. Lots of details there. I've had lots of conversations over the last 2 years with administrators, teachers, et cetera, regarding like kind of historically how things have worked, and I think you alluded to that too with the former board member on the committee who said that we didn't even use the budget for capital expense, it was zero, and it just wasn't what it was. I think there's been a strong mentality of just don't ask for anything because they're just going to tell us no anyways. And I just want to clarify, it sounds like that's changing or has changed. So why would you still need to prioritize stuff and make sure they fit right? Like it's okay for people to raise their hand and say, I think I need something. So just to clarify that or make that statement.
You make a really great point, and I would say to you that that's not only about the capital, that's about everything. Operationally, I'm a bit surprised at the, people, they know that they shouldn't ask for the moon on the budget, right? But I also just, I think we do need to change the mindset in terms of how we look at this. And even if we can't fund it, because there will be times when we need to drop it back down, and that's the challenge. If you don't have enough operating funds to cover your operating needs, your first place to cut is on the capital side, because of that flexibility, but that's not the right long-term plan. We need to think more strategically on that. So, but thanks for that observation.
And it sounds like we're in a much better place than we were maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes.
Well, and I can kind of speak to that too. Saloom and I experienced that at Harvest Ridge. They brought up an example of they needed they didn't want to ask for it, but they needed a projector screen for the near the stage years ago or a while back. Before me, for sure. And instead of asking for it, they decided that they were just going to go get a king-size bed sheet. I was dumbfounded. I didn't really know what to say, and I think what I said was, "Don't do that. Just go to Saloom, ask for the things that you need, and
put in a work order."
Yeah. There you go. Right. So I don't look at it that way. If you need it for the school or for the kids to do these things, reach out. There are people out there that are there, and Saloom completely agreed. And I think what it is just a change in mindset and a change in the culture to be able to understand that you should be asking for those things. And one of the things that Saloom and I said was, we're here to provide the base model. If the PTO or something like that wants leather and power windows, that's on you guys. You can do that, but we need to change the culture and the mindset for sure inside these buildings to make sure that they're getting what they need, not necessarily what they want or pie in the sky, but we have to be able to provide these things for these buildings, and I think it starts with with us getting that message out there, helping the buildings to understand that they need to reach out, they need to put in a work order, they need to really ask for things now, and I hope that they're getting that message out there, and I think Saloom's doing a great job of that, and you are as well.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. What is the process for a school to reach out and ask for help on certain things?
So I shared that we have a new work order system, and it's in process of being implemented. This year, we worked it out by sending out a Google form where our administrators could input their needs through that. It was an email process, but they filled out a form. Moving forward, though, they would have opportunity throughout the year to put in their needs, and then we will report back to them what we're able to address, dependent on the overall scope of all the needs and how much money we would have available. Good question.
Just going back to the capital fund in general, you mentioned it was a beginning balance of 11.2 million, some change there, but we're spending it down by 9 million with ending balance of 4.5. We have a max, we can put a maximum of 5 million a year, is that right, or is it 6?
Our transfer in the current year is approximately 6.8 million that we're allowed to transfer over to Fund 4.
Once it's in Fund 4, it can't move back, is that?
That would be
correct?
correct.
Remember my training.
Yes, very good. Yes.
So, I see here we have a projected end balance of 9.5 at the end of, that would be of June next year. So I wonder if there's a longer term plan to see what will the capital expenditures be and say, or estimated in years 2, 3 ahead, so that we don't overfund that.
Right.
Because just some of the news you reported today with
Yes.
transportation and whatnot, it makes me wince a little bit about operating fund.
And actually, just so you understand behind the scenes, so Saloom and team have been working on our life cycle replacements. And so for some of those, it might go out 20 years or 25 years. Director of Finance Myers and I look at the 5-year spend because we're providing you the operating trajectory for that the 5-year window basically. But to your point, I don't believe we need to maintain this high of a fund balance in capital. We can always rely upon the transfer, and if we had a significant need in a particular year, we have the ability to direct receipt other revenues that we currently aren't receiving to Fund 4. So that provides us that leveling ability. Regardless, it all draws off of the operating fund though, as you well know. And so long-term strategies for meeting all of our operating needs, to pay our people, to pay the increases on fuel or electricity, all of that needs to be factored in as well. And yes, we don't want to overgrow our capital. I have a feeling we would always have needs, but again, balancing it back to what are our operating needs and how does that fit in the prioritization would be paramount.
Sure. Yeah, good. I mean, I think it's great we're dealing with some of these things. I suspected you had that planned out, so I just
Yes,
wanted to
we have a plan.
confirm, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to just call the community's attention to some policy updates that are available online on board docs. If anybody would like to read and provide feedback, this is the first reading, so just be it for awareness. And then we'll move on to superintendent comments.
Thank you, President Bertrand. I'd like to begin this evening by actually going back to where we started the meeting and thanking Dr. Dalton and Ms. Vargas for the work they've done over the last several years to really develop our career pathways and the work-based opportunities for our students, which, as you heard tonight, will now include the registered youth apprenticeship program. I appreciated Ms. Caldwell, the visitor's comment, that these are not an alternative to college, but are actually a pathway to college. Our mission is to prepare students to be lifelong learners, and that's regardless if they choose to immediately enter the workforce, enter the military, or pursue higher education. And apprenticeships are just one opportunity, and really an incredible opportunity for our students to get that real-world experience while also earning an income. We appreciate the board's support for those programs, and I just want to remind everyone that as we embark on our next strategic plan, that continued growth and development and expansion of these programs involve a commitment of the district both in financial and in human resources, and it's something that I think we should continue to talk about because we have very few people doing a significant amount of work, and to continue to build these relationships with community partners, with employment agencies and opportunities, we need to invest in that program, and we're doing it, but it needs to be an ongoing conversation. Next, I'd like to congratulate our amazing transportation department. They scored 99% this week on the Missouri State Highway Patrol annual bus inspection. The state was out here on Monday and Tuesday, and the inspectors, they looked at every single one of our 161 buses. A light bulb went out in one bus as it rolled up to the inspection line, and one ball joint needed to be replaced, and so our mechanics immediately took care of those. So really, when they left, we were at 100%, but yeah, I'd like... Really, that is, we need to celebrate the work of Director Jen Simpson and the 216 employees of that department because it keeps our students safe. And again, there's a level of pride when you see those buses with Francis Howell on them throughout the community all day long. Just this morning, St. Louis Public Radio announced the winners of the 2024 Teen Photojournalist Prize. The contest received over 225 student entries from 27 high schools, along with homeschoolers from throughout Missouri and Illinois. And I'm proud to share that one of the 8 winners across the St. Louis region is Francis Howell senior Ankita Pandaranji. Howell Central and Howell High were also represented in that, as 4 other students were awarded honorable mention awards. And that's pretty impressive. Francis Howell High School Principal Dr. Dave Wedlock was named the St. Louis Area High School Principal of the Year by the Missouri Association of Secondary School Principals just a couple weeks ago. He was surprised by members of that organization, our district leadership team, and his family with an award during their school-wide assembly, and he'll be formally recognized at their event next week. So congratulations again to Dr. Wedlock. We have an updated date for our strategic plan roundtable. We shared that last month, and we've shifted now to doing it on May 7th, where we're going to do one combined event. There is still space available, and we'd love to have participants from our community at the event. We sent out a survey last month and received over 1,000 responses. So we're working on pulling that information together. That feedback, along with the feedback from the Culture and Climate roundtable that we did last month, will be used as part of the strategic planning process. I'd like to celebrate the Francis Howell Central Library. They have earned the Exemplary School Library Program Award of Distinction from the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education for the 2nd year in a row. They were one of only 9 library programs in the state to receive that. As Mr. Young mentioned during his comments, I'd also like to take a minute and recognize the Raven Robotics team for winning the St. Louis Regional Competition and qualifying for the first Robotics Championship. That team is actually made up with students from all 3 of our comprehensive high schools. So it really, we celebrate One Howell a lot, and that's a great example of that, and we're excited that they're already doing so well down there. I want to congratulate our Howell of Fame winners. This year, the committee selected 11 winners, some very deserving recipients from out of 150 nominations. We have been surprising them over the last few days. Tomorrow morning will be our final surprise celebration, and they will all be celebrated at a ceremony on May 13th. And on our Facebook page now, over the next couple of weeks, we'll begin publicly releasing those winners, and you'll get to see some of the video and photos from those. I just wanted to acknowledge there was a little bit of confusion and some frustration about communication that went out last week regarding food and snacks being distributed by staff. The first thing I wanted to clarify is that that was an administrative decision. Some people were on social media and elsewhere thought that that was a board decision. That was really an internal decision. We've received multiple questions about it, so our team is reviewing the policies and procedures related to that, and we'll push out clarifying information to staff next week. Ultimately, our goal is to keep our students safe, and one way we can do that is by preventing avoidable and unintended allergic reactions, and that's really what it's about, but we know there's some confusion around that communication. And last, I would also like to welcome Director Owens and Director Blair to the board. The demands of school board service, as I've said the last couple meetings, are significant, and it also comes with a significant level of responsibility as it has a lasting impact on our students and on this community. Look forward to working with the 2 of you as well as our 5 returning board members as we serve the 16,473 students of this community. Thank you.
Any board comments? Colin gets it. All right.
I again just want to thank the members of FHN, the teachers, staff, and administration. They're all great. And the students of FHN are excited for the opportunity that the new building presents. Not only will this opportunity provide more classroom time due to less interruptions from weather and maintenance, but also provide the spaces needed to support students' learning, such as an intended mini Knightsbury school, a journalism studio space for our photography kids, and foreign language speaking rooms. And I would like to thank the board and admin team for allowing us these opportunities.
Any other comments, board?
Yeah, if I could, I wanted to begin by acknowledging and recognizing Sam Young and Adriana Kuhn for a wonderful campaign. In my opinion, it showed and demonstrated their commitment to the district, and I wanted to commend them for being willing to sacrifice so much time, and it was very evident that your desire was to make the district the best it can be. Again, I want to begin by saying thank you to both Sam and Adriana for being willing to demonstrate commitment in that way. I wanted to share that on Tuesday night during the reorganization meeting, the entire Board of Education agreed to live out a code of ethics. And a couple of these things, this is all public information, you can access this yourself. But some of those include acknowledging the roles of members of the board are to recognize that it is the responsibility of the board to see that the schools are properly administered, not to administer them, to maintain a working rapport with other members of the board and the superintendent, to respect and encourage the right of others to hold and express opinions, to avoid any comments which may be interpreted as undermining the administration of the district, to assure the special committees, when appointed, have a well-defined objective, and that the committee serves in an advisory capacity. And lastly, among others, it says to support the superintendent's efforts to appoint the most qualified persons as employees of the district. And I just wanted to share that the entire board was in one voice agreeing upon this as the code of ethics that we're living off of, and invite everybody to challenge or call us out if we fall short, including myself. One of the ways we become one Howell is for leadership to demonstrate the values that we want to be shared elsewhere. I want to also acknowledge the teachers. We appreciate all the teachers for doing the amazing things that you do on a regular basis, including the things that we don't know that you do. I know sometimes teachers have been the recipients of different kinds of attacks, and I want to affirm that we see your expertise, that we think that you are a gift for the entire district, and we appreciate your leadership. In the same way, I want to also acknowledge the students, both Colin and his work here today as a representation of the entire 16,743 students. Everything we do is for the students, and so we want to be mindful of that, and to make sure every student here knows at Francis Howell that you are a gift to the entire district as well, and we are better off because of every single one of the 16,743 students. And my final comment is that I think we are going to share a commitment over the next year together as a 7-person board to be the best school board we can be, to be the best school district we can be. Being the best in St. Charles County is great. Isn't that wonderful that we can say we're the best school district in St. Charles County? It's almost sometimes using the analogy like in baseball, when you win your district, when you win your division, right? It's good to win your division, but to have greater goals than that, and to be able to try our best to become not just the best school district in St. Charles County, but to be the best school district in Missouri, and to be able to stack hands, to be part of that together, and looking forward to that challenge. Thank you very much.
Other comments, board?
Yeah, if you don't mind. One thing that's been on my mind a little bit, and with some of the things that we've discussed tonight with regard to teachers and contracts and pay and all those things, is it brings me back to when my wife had our children, and how fortunate we were to have the backing of her employer that allowed her to have a certain amount of time off and things like that. So one of the things that I'm going to be looking into is with Mrs. Simpkins, if she'll let me, is just how that works, how that operates, what's best for the people of this district, how we can make it better. I think that there's always room to make that type of a program better if the finances are there, if the money is there, if we can provide a better climate and culture around some teachers that have babies and maternity and paternity leave. I would be absolutely willing to look into that and see if we can possibly do something to make that better. From what I understand, it is a pretty good system as it sits right now, with the district going a little bit more above and beyond with the actual time off, but I wanted to look into it a little bit deeper and see what we can do for the teachers and staff and administrators who do experience that type of thing. So I look forward to working with you and looking into that and seeing if there's anything we can do.
Any other comments, board? I have a few comments. So I want to welcome Stephen Blair and Carol Owens once again to the first formal meeting. So welcome to the board. A little bit along some of the same things as Dr. Rompus. I'm really excited about the apprenticeship program tonight, but I wanted to make the community aware of also of our Build My Future STL that is coming up later in this April. That will also, it's a program for all of our students that kind of go through a showcase of trade and industry careers with some interactive and hands-on exhibits. But they have an open house for the public on the 24th, which is a Wednesday at 2 to 4 p.m. So if there's anybody in the community that wants to go out to that, they can, and they can experience that, or maybe bring some younger children over there. That may be a possibility as well. And Dr. Wedlock, wanted to just kind of say my congratulations to him for his many years of dedication. He was a teacher when I was actually a student here, so he's been here dedicating many years of service to the district, so congratulations to him. And I look forward to the strategic planning roundtable coming up. So if you have anybody in the community has time, please join us in that. And then my kids the other day were just happened to be telling me there's less than 30 days left of school. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, there's school days. And so less than 30 school days left. We've already started the countdown. And so thank you to all the teachers and administrators for all the hard work and all the hard work through the remainder of those less than 30 days. So thank you, everybody. Thanks everybody for coming out, and board, I would like a motion to adjourn, close open meeting, adjourn the meeting. Director Cook, Director Ponder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it.